Welcome to Headphone News, International Edition for Friday, December 20th, 2024. In today's episode, we will quickly cover 20 news articles in 20 minutes. Let's dive in.
Surge in mergers and acquisitions expected in 2025. Bankers are forecasting a major increase in global mergers and acquisitions, or M&A, with deal volumes likely to surpass $4 trillion in 2025. This would mark the highest level of M&A activity in 4 years. The expected rise is largely driven by the economic policies of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, who has promised to cut regulations and lower corporate taxes. In 2024, the total value of M&A reached around $3.5 trillion, reflecting a 15% increase from the previous year. The United States alone saw M&A volumes climb to $1.55 trillion, a 10% rise. Europe and the Asia-Pacific regions also experienced notable increases of 22% and 11%, respectively. This year, major transactions included Blackstone's $16 billion acquisition of AirTrunk, a data center operator in Australia, and Silver Lake's $13 billion takeover of Endeavor Group. The technology sector played a significant role in this activity, accounting for $534 billion in global M&A. As we approach 2025, the outlook for M&A activity remains positive, fueled by a strong U.S. economy and unspent capital on corporate balance sheets. What does this mean for the future of business? With so much potential for growth, it's an exciting time to watch the M&A landscape unfold.
Mass graves in Syria, a call for justice. Recent discoveries of mass graves in Syria have uncovered horrific violations of human rights under President Bashar al-Assad's regime. Stephen Rapp, a former U.S. war crimes ambassador, revealed that more than 100,000 people have been tortured and murdered since the civil war began in 2011. An organization that tracks missing persons has identified at least 66 mass grave sites across the country. The Syrian civil defense teams, known as the White Helmets, are working tirelessly to recover remains from these sites. These findings highlight the urgent need for accountability and fairness for the victims of this ongoing struggle. The situation in Syria continues to attract international attention as calls for action grow louder. What will it take for the world to respond?
India's trade deal with the U.S. India is stepping into the spotlight as it prepares to negotiate an important trade deal with the United States, with Donald Trump set to take office. Indian officials are looking to cut taxes on various goods imported from the U.S. Right now, India imposes a hefty 45% tax on pork and taxes ranging from 25 to 60% on high-end medical devices and luxury motorcycles. Trade between India and the U.S. has soared past $118 billion in the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year, with India enjoying an excess of $32 billion. Officials are also suggesting an increase in imports of liquefied natural gas and defense equipment from the U.S., with energy imports estimated at $12 billion. The Indian government aims to establish the country as an alternative manufacturing hub as the U.S. seeks to reduce its dependence on China. What could this mean for consumers and businesses in both nations? The outcome of these negotiations could significantly impact everyday lives.
Federal Reserve cuts rates, impacting global markets. The Federal Reserve has made headlines by lowering interest rates by a quarter point, bringing the policy rate down to a range of 4.25% to 4.50%. This move raises concerns that a 4% rate could be the lowest we see in the coming year. Additionally, the Fed has adjusted its inflation forecast to 2.5% for next year. As a result, the U.S. dollar has soared to its highest level in over 2 years, shaking up currencies around the world. The Japanese yen has significantly weakened against the dollar, hitting its lowest point since July. On the flip side, the British pound has gained strength against both the dollar and the euro. In Brazil, the Brazilian real has plummeted to a record low, raising alarms about the country's fiscal policies. Major U.S. stock indexes, including the Dow Jones and the S&P 500, have seen notable declines. Shares of Micron Technology fell by 15% after disappointing earnings reports. Meanwhile, the VIX, a key measure of market volatility, has surged, signaling increased anxiety among investors. Keep an eye on upcoming economic reports and central bank decisions, as they could shape the financial landscape ahead.
Nigeria's oil theft crisis and its economic impact. Nigeria is grappling with a serious oil theft crisis in the Niger Delta, where brazen thieves use speedboats to illegally draw off crude oil from pipelines. This rampant stealing has resulted in staggering economic losses, with the country losing around 23 billion Nigerian naira, or about $29.7 million just last year. The inflation rate has skyrocketed to 34.6%, largely fueled by rising food prices and the increasing costs of petroleum products. In response, Governor Fubara has announced the use of new military-grade gunboats to boost security and tackle this theft head-on. Currently, oil production stands at an average of 1.8 million barrels per day, up from 1.3 million barrels in March. However, the region has suffered nearly 10,000 oil spill events between 2011 and 2021, causing significant damage to the environment and local communities. To address the root causes of oil theft and improve the lives of those in the Niger Delta, the government is planning to allocate resources towards health, education, and infrastructure. What does this mean for the future of Nigeria? The stakes are high, and the impact of these issues resonates far beyond the region.
Urgent deadline for U.S. Congress to prevent government shutdown. The U.S. Congress is racing against the clock to prevent a partial government shutdown. President-elect Donald Trump has rejected a bipartisan spending bill and is insisting on raising the nation's debt ceiling. Congress must act by midnight on December 22, 2024, or the government could grind to a halt on December 23rd, just before Christmas. This proposed deal would have extended funding through March 14, 2025. Trump warns that Republicans who support the bill may face tough challenges in upcoming elections. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, is also urging Congress to reject the spending bill. A government shutdown would stop essential services, impacting federal employees and the public. Raising the debt ceiling is crucial to avoid default and maintain economic stability. The outcome of this political standoff will significantly affect government operations and the political landscape, influencing us all. What does this mean for the services we rely on every day?
Putin's reflection on Russia's strength. On December 19, 2024, in Moscow, President Vladimir Putin looked back on how far Russia has come since the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991. He stated that he has guided the country away from chaos, emphasizing that Russia is now an independent nation capable of making its own choices. Putin highlighted that Russia's economic growth is currently outpacing that of Britain, showcasing the nation's resilience despite challenges like inflation. He described the situation in Ukraine as a struggle against Western influence, reflecting his strong leadership style and commitment to demonstrating strength both at home and around the world.
Improvement in German consumer confidence. A recent poll by GfK, a leading market research company in Germany, reveals a small boost in consumer confidence as we enter 2025. The Consumer Sentiment Index has improved slightly, now at minus 21.3 points, which is better than the minus 23.1 points recorded last month and surpasses analysts' expectations. However, high food and energy prices, along with ongoing worries about job security, continue to weigh on families. Major companies like Volkswagen are cutting back on production, raising concerns about potential job losses. The economic outlook for Germany remains cautious, with predictions of a second consecutive year of decline in 2024. Adding to the uncertainty is an unexpected election coming up in February, which could further shake consumer confidence. Understanding how consumers feel is crucial as it reflects their spending habits and the overall health of the economy. How do rising prices affect your own spending?
U.S. Stock Market Update, December 19, 2024. On December 19, 2024, U.S. stock markets showed a mix of results. The Dow Jones Industrial Average increased by 15.37 points, closing at 42,342.24. In contrast, the S&P 500 dropped by 5.08 points to finish at 5,867.08, while the Nasdaq Composite Index fell by 19.92 points, ending at 19,372.77. The yield on 10-year U.S. Treasury bonds is now over 4.5%, putting additional strain on stocks. Recent economic data revealed a growth rate of 3.1% for the U.S. economy during the summer, showing some resilience. However, manufacturing activity in the Mid-Atlantic region unexpectedly shrank. Investors are keeping a close eye on the upcoming PCE price index, which will provide valuable insights into inflation. This mixed performance in the stock market highlights ongoing uncertainty as investors navigate these economic signals.
Walmart's climate change struggles. Walmart, one of the largest retailers in the U.S., is grappling with tough hurdles in its battle against climate change. The company aims to cut pollution from gases that trap heat by 35% by 2025 and by 65% by 2030, using 2015 levels as a baseline. However, it's facing significant obstacles, including energy policy issues and limited access to affordable technologies that produce less pollution. In 2023, emissions actually increased due to waste from old refrigeration systems and fuel emissions from transportation, along with slow growth in clean energy sources. Walmart's challenges highlight the crucial role of corporate responsibility in addressing climate change and its impact on consumers and our planet. What does this mean for our future?
U.S. assessment of UAE's arms supply to Sudan's RSF. The Biden administration is preparing to evaluate the United Arab Emirates' promises regarding its arms supply to the Rapid Support Forces in Sudan. This assessment is expected to be completed by January 17, 2025, amid rising concerns about the UAE's potential military support for the RSF. This group is deeply involved in a civil war that has resulted in tens of thousands of deaths and millions of people forced to flee their homes since April 2023. Currently, around 25 million people in Sudan urgently need assistance. In response, U.S. lawmakers are advocating for a halt to arms sales to the UAE until the situation is clarified. At the same time, the Biden administration has approved a potential arms deal worth $1.2 billion, which includes advanced military systems. The outcome of this assessment could significantly influence U.S. foreign policy and have a lasting impact on the humanitarian crisis in Sudan. What does this mean for the future of the region?
U.S. troop increase in Syria. In a significant shift in military strategy, the Pentagon has announced a rise in U.S. troop levels in Syria, increasing the total to 2,000, more than double the previous count of 900. This move aims to strengthen actions against the Islamic State, a militant group that has posed a danger to regional stability since 2014. The U.S. military is focused on assisting local forces and preventing the return of the Islamic State. This announcement comes as President-elect Donald Trump prepares to take office on January 20, 2025. The situation in Syria remains complex, with recent government changes and ongoing conflicts. The presence of U.S. troops could significantly influence relations with Syria and its allies, including Russia and Iran. What does this mean for the future of stability in the region?
Democratic lawmakers push for trade agreement changes. On December 19, 2024, 37 Democratic lawmakers called on the U.S. Trade Representative to change investment protections in U.S. trade agreements. This request follows claims from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce about secret negotiations regarding these protections. The lawmakers want to eliminate rules that allow foreign companies to sue countries, known as investor-state dispute settlement provisions. They pointed to a striking case where American and Canadian mining companies demanded over $16 billion in damages from Colombia after the country created a national park to protect the Amazon rainforest. This demand is particularly shocking, considering the initial investment was only $11 million, leading lawmakers to describe it as unreasonable. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce argues that weakening these protections could risk U.S. interests. As President Donald Trump prepares to take office on January 20, 2025, the future of these trade negotiations remains uncertain. Trump has criticized these provisions in the past, viewing them as harmful to American jobs. Colombian President Gustavo Petro has also expressed interest in renegotiating these terms, highlighting the ongoing clash between environmental protection and corporate interests.
U.S. sanctions on Iran and Houthi entities. On December 19, 2024, the United States took decisive action by imposing new sanctions on Iran and Houthi-related entities in Yemen. These sanctions target 3 ships involved in the trade of Iranian oil and petrochemicals, which generate billions of dollars for Iran's leadership. The U.S. aims to disrupt Iran's financial systems that support its nuclear program and military activities. The affected vessels include the Djibouti-flagged MS Enola, owned by Journey Investment Company, as well as the San Marino-flagged MS Angiai and Panama-flagged MS Millenia, both managed by Rose Shipping Limited. Additionally, 12 individuals linked to the Houthi group face sanctions, including Hashim Ismail Ali Ahmad al-Madani, the head of the Houthi-aligned central bank in Sana'a, Yemen. These actions highlight the ongoing tensions in the Middle East and the intricate political landscape of the region. What could this mean for the future of U.S.-Iran relations?
El Salvador's bold Bitcoin investment. El Salvador is making headlines by continuing its investment in Bitcoin, even with alerts from the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. On December 19, 2024, the country announced it would keep buying Bitcoin after securing a loan of $1.4 billion from the IMF, which advised the nation to limit its financial risks. Bitcoin remains accepted as money in El Salvador, alongside the US dollar. The government currently holds about 5,968 bitcoins, worth around $594 million. This daring economic strategy follows El Salvador's groundbreaking decision in September 2021 to become the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal currency. As the nation navigates the challenges of international financial agreements, its ongoing investment in Bitcoin signals a significant shift in how we think about money. What could this mean for the future of finance?
Worldcoin's data deletion order. Worldcoin, a cryptocurrency project co-founded by Sam Altman, has been ordered to remove all eye-scan information collected since 2019. This decision comes from Spain's data protection agency, known as EPD, after they found Worldcoin in breach of the European Union's data protection law, the GDPR. This law is designed to safeguard personal information and privacy. Concerns have been raised about privacy and data security due to Worldcoin's practice of scanning eyes in exchange for free cryptocurrency and digital IDs. In March 2024, Spain's High Court supported a short-term ban on Worldcoin's operations, highlighting the need for compliance with data protection laws. The removal of eye-scan information could affect users' access to their digital IDs and benefits. This situation underscores the critical importance of protecting personal data in our increasingly digital world.
Trial of Matteo Salvini, a turning point for immigration in Italy. A dramatic courtroom showdown is set to unfold in Palermo, Italy, as a decision is expected on December 20, 2024, in the kidnapping trial of Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini. This case dates back to 2019 when Salvini, then the Interior Minister, blocked a Spanish charity called Open Arms from docking in Italy with 147 desperate migrants seeking safety. These individuals were held at sea for nearly 3 weeks, and if found guilty, Salvini could face up to 6 years in prison. This trial highlights the current conflicts over immigration rules in Italy. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni stands firmly behind Salvini's tough stance on migration. Recently, U.S. billionaire Elon Musk added to the international spotlight on the case by criticizing the trial. What does this trial mean for the future of immigration in Italy and across Europe? The outcome could have significant implications for policies that affect countless lives.
Ecuador's ongoing power crisis. Ecuador is grappling with persistent power outages that leave families in the dark and disrupt daily life in Quito. These outages began on September 23, 2023, due to a serious drought that has severely impacted hydroelectric power generation. Some families are facing blackouts lasting up to 14 hours, affecting both their homes and businesses. The government has extended these power cuts into a third month, leading to staggering financial losses. The manufacturing industry has lost around $4 billion, while the commerce sector has seen losses of about $3.5 billion. Since the blackout started, approximately 24,000 job contracts have been eliminated, leaving many without work. President Daniel Noboa has announced plans to restore power for most residents, but industries will continue to face cuts. The energy shortfall varies between 1,000 and 1,400 megawatts, meaning demand is outpacing supply. To tackle this crisis, Noboa's administration has allocated $700 million for maintaining thermoelectric plants. They've also brought in a floating thermoelectric plant from Turkey and additional generators, yet many families are still struggling with the ongoing energy crisis.
Germany pushes for quick resolution on electric vehicle tariffs with China. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is calling for the European Union to quickly settle a tax disagreement with China over electric vehicles. At a recent summit in Brussels, he highlighted the importance of working together to avoid conflicts. The EU has set an ambitious goal of achieving no net carbon emissions by 2050, with strict limits on carbon dioxide releases for automakers. Companies that go over these limits could face fines of €95, or about $102.65, for every gram of CO2 they exceed. Industry estimates suggest that European automakers could face penalties totaling around €15 billion. China is eager to make progress in discussions about pricing for its electric vehicles. Scholz has urged the European Commission to rethink penalties for automakers struggling to meet these emissions targets. The outcome of these negotiations will significantly affect consumers, automakers, and climate policy across Europe. What does this mean for the future of electric vehicles in the region? The stakes are high, and cooperation is key.
Shifts in global trade. A whirlwind of changes is sweeping through global trade as international conflicts, climate change, and new technologies take center stage. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed weaknesses in supply chains, prompting countries to rethink their trade partnerships. With protectionism on the rise, nations are focusing more on their own economic interests. Climate change is pushing us toward eco-friendly practices in trade, while innovations like AI and blockchain are boosting efficiency in logistics. As we move closer to 2024, groups of countries are forming regional trade alliances, and production facilities are shifting closer to home. These changes highlight the growing importance of sustainability, security, and efficiency in the ever-evolving landscape of global trade.
That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's Headphone News. News Summary brought to you by AI.